Welcome to Books and Coffee Chat, the podcast where we dive into the stories you love, the characters you can't stop thinking about, and the plot twists that leave you speechless. Every week, grab your coffee and join us for real, fun, and spoiler-free conversations about books that everyone's talking about. Let's get started.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. We're the podcast where we take your stack of sources, pull out the really important stuff, and basically give you that shortcut to being properly informed.
Yeah, cutting through the noise a bit.
Exactly. And today we're diving into something really compelling. It's a kind of micro-history you shared with us, looking deep into a long-term relationship. We're following Lauren and Ryan. We see them go from that first spark all the way to almost splitting up, and then, well, this surprising way they found their way back.
It's quite a journey.
It really is. So our mission today is to unpack what happened here, the dynamics, and see if we can pull out some, universal truths, especially about how our focus, what we pay attention to, or maybe what we don't pay attention to at different points in our history together, how that shapes everything. Love, compromise, finding yourself.
What's really fascinating, I think, is how the story itself jumps around in time. We get these little windows into key moments over more than 10 years of their history.
Yeah, snapshots.
Exactly. And you see how that early, maybe infatuation, the big gestures, how that changes or sometimes kind of falls apart.
Right.
When faced with just, everyday life.
Right.
It gives us this really intimate look at how small shifts in where they put their focus, their attention can just build up and really erode something that felt so solid. It charts this quiet path through their history.
Okay, let's get into it then.
Yeah.
So the story actually kicks off with a fight right now in the present.
Yeah.
They lost their car at Dodger Stadium. Super frustrating.
Yeah, not a great start.
But then, boom, we rewind back to the beginning. That undeniable chemistry time. Take us there. What was that first spark, that first bit of their history like?
Okay, so we meet Lauren first. She's in college, UCLA, kind of shy, still figuring things out. And then there's Ryan. He's like the opposite. Confident, always got a smile. And their first real interaction, it's cute in a cafeteria line. He goes, "Are you following me?" Just playful banter.
Sets the tone.
Totally. And the connection isn't about some huge event. It's just chemistry. She feels this small jolt of electricity, like she's on fire just from that little exchange.
Wow.
Yeah. And that leads to a first date where they find out they have this shared history. Same public speaking professor, weirdly enough, and they talk about their dreams. And Ryan, he's only 19, says, "We should get married someday."
Bold move at 19.
Very bold. And then jump forward a bit, 7.5 years ago, the proposal happens.
Okay, and this wasn't your typical perfect proposal scene, was it?
Not at all. It's during this hike in Yosemite vernal fall. Lauren describes it as almost impossible. She's literally bleeding, feeling desolate, totally defeated.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And right there, mid-hike, on these treacherous steps, he proposes. So what does that moment in their early history tell us?
Yeah, what does it tell us? Seems kind of intense.
Well, it's a powerful metaphor, isn't it? For relationships themselves, maybe. And maybe an early pattern for them. She expected this amazing view at the top, the triumph, but reality was just pain and struggle.
Right. But in that shared struggle, he proposes. And her yes is instant. It gives her the energy to finish the climb. So it suggests that early on, their love was really built on overcoming hard stuff together. Like, we can conquer anything feeling.
Exactly. That belief. But maybe it also hints that they kind of learned to equate struggle with connection. Like, let's make a big gesture when things are tough instead of just dealing with the toughness.
Interesting point. Focusing on the destination, the yes, not the messy journey itself.
Possibly. Their future seemed uncomplicated then, maybe because they were focused on getting through the hardship, not necessarily understanding it.
Okay, so that early promise, it feels really strong. After the yes on the mountain, things move fast. King-size bed, honeymoon in Big Sur, simpler choice, not Paris or anything.
Intimate.
But even then, on the honeymoon, problems pop up. Flat tire. Arguments over who should check the spare. What's this little conflict showing us so early in their shared history?
It shows those underlying tensions were, well, kind of always there, even when things were supposed to be perfect. Yeah.
They could be close and happy in their little cabin, but the second a real-world snag hits the tire bang, blame, frustration, feeling like useless idiots, as they put it.
Ouch.
It's not just bad communication. It's like a mini preview of how these small, unaddressed irritations can just become their go-to reaction. Blame becomes the default, even when the love is still there underneath.
So useless idiots could almost become a self-fulfilling thing if they keep focusing on the problem that way, not the pattern.
Exactly. It's a key moment in their history where the focus is all on the flat tire, not on how they're dealing with the flat tire together.
Okay, so the honeymoon glow fades. Naturally. We jump ahead. 3 years ago now, Lauren's got a new job. They adopt Thumper, the dog they both love.
The dog becomes important.
Yeah. And then there's this moment. Lauren tells Ryan she feels like this is enough. Meaning, just them and Thumper, no kids. What's going on here? How's their focus shifting in this period? This is a really subtle, but I think critical turning point in their history. They're moving from shared dreams or assumed shared dreams to, well, different desires. Or at least desires they're not really talking about.
Right.
Lauren saying this is enough sounds like contentment, maybe, but also like she's found a comfort zone she doesn't want to leave. Maybe a fear of disrupting it.
Could be.
And Ryan's reply, after 30, just sort of pushes the whole kids' conversation off into the vague future. It doesn't resolve anything.
It's amazing how that feeling of enough can be both comforting and maybe a little bit of a trap, isn't it? Like avoiding growth.
It really can be. And this is where you see those seeds of resentment starting to sprout. Not because they're fighting loudly, but because they're avoiding the deep, potentially difficult talks. Their focus shifts to just keeping the peace on the surface rather than, truly connecting about what they both want down the line.
And yeah, those seeds definitely grow. Fast forward again, just 1 year ago, Lauren's in a hit and run. Scary stuff.
Yeah.
She calls Ryan. He's home watching TV. She needs comfort, but he seems distant. Just says, well, you said you were fine.
Oof. Not exactly supportive.
Not really.
Yeah.
Then, 6 months ago, Valentine's Day, he won't pick a dinner spot, then gets mad when she calls her sister during dinner. It just sounds like things are really breaking down, that empathy's gone.
This is what the source calls that passive-aggressive attrition. And you asked if it's more damaging than a big fight.
Yeah, what do you think? Those small cuts versus a shouting match, what's the real cost in their history?
I think it's often way more corrosive, actually. These little things, his seeming lack of empathy after her accident, being dismissive about dinner, that crack about her losing her wallet. After 11 years, it gets less charming.
Wow, harsh.
Yeah. There are all these small digs, these quiet attacks. They point to this really deep resentment and just a lack of willingness to even try to meet each other's emotional needs.
It's not like a big fight that might clear the air.
Exactly. These things just build and build. The whole relationship turns into this minefield of things you can't say, hurts you haven't dealt with. And predictably, the intimacy suffers too. She's not in the mood. His unsent letter shows he feels rejected all the time.
So their focus just narrows right down to their own individual complaints, totally missing the bigger picture of what's happening emotionally between them.
Totally. This sort of emotional numbness, this failure to imagine what the other person is feeling, that's what makes the passive aggression so destructive in the long run.
God, it sounds absolutely draining. And it all leads to that huge fight after the Dodger game back in the present day.
The breaking point.
Yeah. Ryan finally admits he didn't even want her to come, hasn't wanted to go anywhere with her for months. And Lauren has this awful realization that it's the apathy, the fact that he just doesn't care anymore, that hurts the most. So what does this final blow-up really tell us about where their marriage is at? What's the historical result of this shift in focus?
It's just the raw truth finally coming out, isn't it? Their shared history has led them here. They're not fighting about losing the car. They're fighting because they are deeply, fundamentally unhappy with each other and maybe with themselves too.
Yeah.
That realization we don't make each other happy anymore, it's brutal. Ryan's honesty, as harsh as it is, and Lauren feeling like that last little bit of caring inside her just vanishes. It's total emotional detachment.
They've gone beyond anger.
Way beyond. It's indifference, and that usually signals the end is near. Their shared focus just completely disintegrated, leaving these two isolated people stuck inside the shell of a marriage.
So, okay. They decide to separate for a year. And this is where we get those really moving, kind of heartbreaking unsent letters from Ryan.
Yeah, those are powerful.
He misses Thumper the dog so much, calls himself a hypocrite for how he judged Lauren. Admits new dates are nothing compared to, the magic shrimp pasta moments they had together.
Yeah.
What are these letters showing us about his inner world, his changing focus during the separation, his personal history with her?
They're a really important window, aren't they? into his pain, his confusion. You see this deep longing for the family unit he blew up, basically. And Thumper really symbolizes that for him. And when he reflects on their past, especially wanting to take care of her, provide for her, that reveals a lot about how he saw himself as a partner. That was core to his identity.
And the shrimp pasta.
The magic shrimp pasta. It's perfect because it's not just about food, right? It's about that shared language, that deep understanding, appreciating the unique little things in their dynamic that he just can't find with someone new. He's missing Lauren, the specific person, not just the idea of a wife.
Yeah.
It really shows that bond is still there under all the resentment. His focus is shifting back to the irreplaceable history they built together.
And what about Lauren during this separation? She seems to be taking a different path.
Yeah, she is. She's hiking, running, really pouring energy into herself. She even goes on a blind date. And she writes her own unsent letter, listing all the ways her life is actually better without him. Things like throwing away receipts without comment, tipping how she wants, small freedoms. And she writes to this advice columnist, Ask Allie, basically asking if it's okay to be happy alone, if a marriage doesn't have to be two halves making a whole, if one half feels complete on its own.
Wow, that's a big question. What's she figuring out about herself here? How's her focus changing her own history?
She's really going through this huge self-discovery phase, reclaiming her independence, enjoying these little autonomies. The physical activity helps her quiet the mental noise. And that question to ask Allie shows her wrestling with this idea of personal fulfillment outside the relationship, which is massive. She's shifting from needing external validation, maybe from him, to finding her own internal strength. Her focus becomes completely inward, letting her rewrite her own story, separate from him.
Okay, so they both go through this intense period of self-discovery separately. Seems like that was maybe necessary for them to have any chance of fixing their shared history.
Yeah.
But what actually brings them back together physically?
Right, because they were pretty separate. The catalyst is, sadly, a family tragedy. Grandma Lois, remember earlier, she was teasing Lauren about having kids.
Yeah.
Well, now she's diagnosed with leukemia, and she's nearing the end. And this crisis just kind of shatters Lauren's new independence. It reveals this deep need she still has for Ryan's specific kind of comfort, the kind he gave her when her grandpa died years ago.
Okay. History repeating, in a way.
Exactly. She actually writes to him, admits she needs him to be her best self, that he brings that out in her. It's this moment where the focus snaps back from just individual growth to acknowledging this unique, irreplaceable support system they still represent for each other, despite everything.
And he shows up.
He shows up unannounced at the hospital. This isn't some planned, careful reunion. It's just raw. What's that like? They laugh, they cry. Lauren notices he's still wearing his wedding ring. It's huge.
Yeah.
After all that time, all that history, what does this reunion mean?
Yeah, what does it mean?
I think it means that under all the pain, all the distance, that core connection, it's still there. The mix of laughter and tears shows how tangled up their feelings are: joy at seeing each other, sadness for what they lost, maybe relief to just be together again.
And the ring.
The ring is the silent signal, isn't it, of his hope, maybe his unwavering focus on the idea of them still. And this spontaneous moment, this shared vulnerability, it just strips away all those layers of resentment they'd built up. It reveals the love underneath.
It's like they stopped performing for each other.
Exactly. They just were rediscovering the real root of their shared history.
So they're back together, at least physically, at the hospital. And in the middle of this awful situation with Lois passing, they actually start to talk, like really talk about the stuff that nearly destroyed them. What comes out? What are the big confessions about their past focus?
They both admit they felt completely unheard, unappreciated. Ryan says he spent years just agreeing with what I thought you wanted, and then he just gets so pissed off internally.
Wow.
And Lauren says the same thing back. She thought the best way to be a good partner was to agree with everything. They both confess to hiding their real preferences, like she actually hated international food he liked, or he felt emasculated when she'd give him unsolicited advice on his grooming.
Oh man, the little things again.
Always the little things. But their confessions reveal this huge cost of always trying to perform in the partnership. Both of them were playing roles they thought the other wanted.
Building walls without even realizing it.
Exactly. Walls of fakeness, basically. And the big lesson here is that trying to create harmony by just being silent and agreeable is actually way more damaging than just having an honest disagreement. Their focus on pleasing each other actually pushed them apart.
Okay, so after all that honesty, that shared grief, They decide to stay married. Lauren gives him this emphatic yes, yes when he asks, and he feels alive for the first time in a year. What's the weight of this recommitment? How has their historical focus really changed now?
It feels different this time, right? It's a conscious choice. It's not coming from dependency, like, I can't live without you, but from this genuine, deep desire.
Yeah.
Lauren puts it really well. She says the real point of the separation wasn't just what she learned about herself, which was huge, but realizing she actually wanted to save the marriage. She felt the energy, motivation, desire for it.
That's key. The wanting it.
Totally. So it's a recommitment that's grounded in knowing themselves better, knowing their needs better, not just trying to recapture something from the past. Their focus has shifted, really shifted, from what they thought they should be as a couple to what they actually truly want to build together now, acknowledging all their history, the good and the bad, and choosing to write a new chapter.
And the story ends. Well, life keeps happening, right? Grandma Lois passes away soon after they reconcile. Sadness and joy mixed together.
Yeah, life's messy.
We see their friends moving forward. Charlie has a baby. Rachel opens her bakery. And then we see Lauren and Ryan back together, dancing at Charlie's wedding, surrounded by everyone. What's the final takeaway here about relationships, happiness, and how we focus on different parts of our lives?
Well, it circles back nicely to that Ask Allie advice Lauren read. The sun always rises, which I think means love isn't about life being perfect or painless. Life just goes on. And our focus can shift, find light, even when things are hard.
Right.
And it also really hammers home that idea. There are no rules in a marriage. What works for Lauren and Ryan after everything might not work for Rachel going solo with her bakery, or Charlie starting a family quickly, or their mom finding love again later in life. Everyone's path, everyone's history is different. So the story really ends by embracing that complexity. Finding happiness isn't a destination. It's this ongoing thing, always evolving. And it often takes unexpected turns and really demands that commitment to being sincere with yourself and with your partner. It's about consciously choosing where you put your focus, your energy, as your own history and your shared history keeps unfolding.
So what does this all mean for you, listening? As you think about the history of your own relationships, maybe it's just a reminder that, look, every long-term partnership hits its own bumps. The road isn't always straight or easy.
Definitely not.
And often staying together involves that journey of finding yourself first, communicating honestly, really honestly, and being willing to fight for it, even if that means taking things apart for a while to rebuild them stronger.
Yeah.
And critically, choosing where to place your focus in that ongoing story.
Yeah, this deep dive really shows that real connection, lasting connection, it's not about dodging fights. It's about how you navigate them with sincerity. It throws out that idea of a perfect marriage and gives us something more real, maybe more hopeful. A partnership where two people who are always changing and growing on their own choose to be together, not because they have to, but because they want to, bringing their whole real selves. It's about that conscious focus on growth and being authentic within the story you're writing together.
That is a powerful thought. So maybe something to think about. What does embracing sincerity and maybe redefining your focus look like for you in your relationships? And what rules or assumptions about your own personal history might need a second look? Thanks for diving deep with us today.
And that's a wrap for today's Books and Coffee Chat. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share this episode with your fellow book lovers. Got a book suggestion or a hot take? Drop it in the comments. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. See you next time, and don't forget, keep reading and keep